You're listening to Iron Sharpens Iron with Latresse Cooke. If you'd like to donate to support this and other programming on Austin Community Radio, email Bob at kazifm.org. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. You're tuned in this morning at 88.7 KZI-FM and the Iron Sharpens Iron program with me, your host, Latresse Cooke. I'm so excited this morning to be in the studio and be able to speak to you all about the issues that face persons who have previously been incarcerated in their families. So we are going to just kind of jump in and start with a special guest that I have in the studio with me. Prior to doing that, I just want to tell you all thank you so much for all the calls and support of this show and the efforts and the work that we're doing in the community. I just want to thank you for that. My guest this morning is Scott Medlock, Prison Rights Director and attorney at the Texas Civil Rights Project. Scott has represented prisoners and their families in a wide variety of cases involving disability discrimination, medical neglect, wrongful deaths, jail suicide, free speech, excessive force, and due process. Scott is a graduate of Northwestern University and also the University of Texas School of Law. And before Scott came to Texas Civil Rights Project, he had volunteered for the Texas Defender Services representing a mentally disabled man on death row in the Travis County District Attorney's Office in the Family Violence Section. Scott, what impresses me so much, he's 33 years old, an attorney who has drawn so much positive attention for his successful advocacy for the incarcerated. And because of that, Texas Civil Rights Project has been able to secure funding earmarked for prisoners' rights cases in all the years since Medlock has been with them. And in case you are not familiar with the Texas Civil Rights Project, we have done, I wanted them to come on the show because we have personal experience working with them and how they have helped the persons that we work with within the criminal justice system once they've been released, and even for those that are currently in custody. So I'm going to let Scott tell you what the TCRP does and what they're continuing to do, the work in the community that they're continuing to do. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Latresse. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming. Scott, just to kind of give a brief overview, I know I've kind of given some information about you. Can you tell me what made you decide to do the work within this kind of organization and what TCRP is, who they are, and what you all do?
Well, when I went to law school, I knew that I wanted to do something for the public interest. I wanted to do something to help the community and to give back. I come from a pretty privileged background, and I know that most people out there don't have the opportunities that I had, so I want to do something to better the lives of other people out there, because I think that's really the mark that you leave when you, in the short time that you're on this place. So that was what I wanted to do when I came to law school. I didn't really know what exactly I wanted to do other than do good work, but I had a class with my boss, Jim Harrington, and that eventually led to me landing the job at TCRP. Jim founded TCRP 23 years ago now.
Wow.
And we have done all sorts of human and civil rights work all over the state. We currently have offices in Austin, El Paso, Houston, San Juan down in the valley, and Odessa. And we've got a variety of different programs where we work to help low-income people who need legal representation.
And just expand just a little bit more on that. And Scott, I love what you said, because I think a lot of times people don't understand why persons get into this field of work, because it definitely is not a field that you will get rich in quickly. And
or even slowly.
Yeah, or even slowly for that matter. But I think that that's a great thing, that we recognize that it's important for us to give something back and not wait until we're in a stage of finality of our lives, our formative years, to do that. And I think that that's so admirable that you have the passion and could have chosen anything else but selected the civil rights work. Tell us a little more about the work that is done for people on a more individual basis that they would seek the assistance of the Texas Civil Rights Project.
Sure. We have a variety of different programs. Probably what people are most familiar with is our just kind of generic civil rights work, whether that be to work against police brutality here in the city of Austin. We've represented a number of people who've been beat up or shot by police officers here. We also do a lot of kind of what you'd think of as traditional civil liberties work, like free speech, freedom of the press. Recently, we represented the Occupy Austin demonstrators and got all of their criminal charges dismissed. But with some of the other programs we have that people might not be as familiar with is we have a Violence Against Women Act program that helps immigrant survivors of domestic violence. That program helps those immigrants to obtain legal status in the U.S. so they can leave abusive relationships. And that's been a really important and successful program that that we do all over the state. I work in our prisoners' rights program, and the goal of the prisoners' rights program is to improve prison and jail conditions and work on improving conditions of parole throughout the state of Texas. So to that end, I've done a number of different cases. One of the big issues that we're working on right now is the extreme temperatures in the Texas prisons, because of course Texas prisons are not air conditioned, and we've represented a gentleman who was in his 60s who was exposed to heat indexes of 130 degrees indoors. And we're currently representing the family of a gentleman who died of heat stroke because he had medical conditions that made him more susceptible to these extreme temperatures. There's also two kind of offshoots of the prisoners' rights program. One is the veterans' rights program that works with incarcerated veterans. While doing the general prisoners' rights work, we just kept talking to our clients and finding out that a real disproportionate number of them were armed forces veterans. Then we did a little bit of research and found out that actually veterans are extremely overrepresented in the criminal justice system. That approximately 10% of people in prison are service veterans. So now we have a veterans program that's really focused on helping veterans to reintegrate to society when they leave prison, because veterans have a bunch of benefits that are available to them, like to find housing, to get hiring preferences, to get medical care through the VA. So there's kind of already an existing infrastructure that we're trying to attach those veteran clients to. And then an additional program that we have that we're just developing now in the prisoners' rights program is for survivors of domestic violence who are incarcerated, because a large number of the women who are in prison are in there for some reason related to domestic violence. Kind of the classic case would be like the woman who is convicted of murder after killing her abusive husband. Mm-hmm. But we also want to help, women who are pressured by an abusive boyfriend to sell drugs and end up in prison for that reason. And the goal there is to provide counseling and support to those women while they're in prison. That'll help to connect them with resources when they get out of prison. And also, a lot of times in their criminal case, the domestic violence aspect wasn't considered by the court. So we want to make sure that when they come up for parole, that the parole board knows about that aspect of why they did what they did, and to help them gain release from prison for something that, maybe they shouldn't have been in there for the first place.
Well, and I think another thing that a lot of people don't understand about even making the parole, getting a person parole, one of your loved ones parole, is that a lot of times when a person does come up for parole, they really don't have a face. They have a sheet that the members are considering based on the charge, whatever they went to prison for. And standardly, many people get denied parole because of the nature of their offense. And my thing has always been is that if you went to prison for murder, whether they send you there for 5 years or 50 years, and you come up for parole, the nature of the offense is still going to be the same, so it doesn't change. So how is that a valid way to continue to deny someone parole? Because if you went for rape, or if you went for murder, or if you went for burglary of a habitation, it's still the same. It's still the same, no matter how much time you spent there. So I think that we have a responsibility when a family member comes to us for assistance to help their person make parole, to make them aware of the things that they can do to put a face and a personality to that person aside from the criminal offense that was committed that sent them to prison. And I think that that's something great that you all do in assisting persons with that. Scott, speaking specifically to the population that Iron Sharpens Iron show represents and that we intend to impact, what would someone on parole or with a felony come to the Texas Civil Rights Project for?
Well, for someone on parole, what we try to do is what's called impact litigation. And the goal there is to select one case that will not only help that client, but also make a policy change or do something, to affect a broader number of people than that one client. Unfortunately, we're a pretty small organization. The Prisoners' Rights Program has 3 lawyers, which is up from 1 lawyer when I started there.
That's good.
So it's nice to expand, but we have 160,000 people incarcerated in just the prison system in Texas. So there's not a lot of opportunity for one-on-one interaction with us. Our goal is to find something where we can make a broader impact by doing one person's case, and usually that's going to be something where there's a policy change that we can affect, like somebody who has a felony charge that is got a criminal defense lawyer, is in criminal court. That's typically not something that we do because it's not something that can have a broader impact. So we're more focused on like our extreme temperature cases. We've found guys who are in prison who are exposed to these extreme conditions, and the goal is by getting them relief, we'll get relief for a broader segment of the population as well.
Very good. And we're about to go to a break, and callers, please give us a call if you have any questions or comments. That number is 836-2887, 836-2887, and when we come back, we will be willing to take your calls and continue on with Scott Medlock with the Texas Civil Rights Project and your host, Latresse Cooke and Iron Sharpens Iron.
KAZI, the voice of Austin.
And we are back, and we have a caller. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, I am calling. I am a concerned parent, not a frustrated parent. And my son, about a year ago, got beat by several officers there while he was incarcerated. And they're not doing much about it. I went to the OIG, and I went to the, it's like the police is watching the police, the ombudsman. And they said, we found no harassment by that. And they busted his head and did all kind of terrible things to him.
Is, just a little bit more, is your son in custody in a prison here, or is that county jail that happened in?
No, in a prison. Yeah, it was in a prison.
Oh, okay, you said the OIG and the ombudsman, okay.
The OIG. Mm-hmm.
Scott, do you want to?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I can't talk too much about the specifics of what happened to your son, other than that's a complaint that we hear all the time. Unfortunately, that's a real common issue that we hear. If you'd like for TCRP to look at your case, let me talk briefly about how we handle intake for new cases. That starts by having somebody give us a call at our office between 1 and 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoons. So this afternoon, we have intake staff available at that time to take all of your basic information, so we can get your contact information, figure out who your son is and where he's at, and then look at what we might be able to do to help you. Like I said, unfortunately, we're a small shop. We don't have a lot of staff to help everybody. We wish that we could help everybody, but we're able to take about less than between 1 and 5% of cases that come to us. But that doesn't mean that we won't look at the case, and for every case that we can't do, we make sure and trying to send out some resources to people to help them help themselves, or to direct them to people who might be able to help. I can tell you, caller, that it sounds like you've done all the right things this far. The one thing that I would add is that make sure that your son files a grievance. And then appeals that grievance. I know there's a perception, and I agree that it's probably correct, that the grievance system in TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, doesn't do a whole lot for the inmates, but it's a necessary step to protect their legal rights. There's a law called the Prison Litigation Reform Act that requires prisoners to file a grievance and then appeal that grievance denial before they can take their claims to court. So if your son ever wants to take his case to court, he needs to go through the grievance system first. And I know that's a little daunting, but we have some self-help resources, some instructions and manuals that you could send your son available on the Texas Civil Rights Project website.
And we're also, just to jump in there, and we're also willing to help in any way to help you look at what those resources and those things are, to further help you in getting back the information to your son so that he can continue to pursue his rights while he's inside. And if there are things that TCRP would provide that you don't understand, we're more than happy to help interpret that, because, of course, we all understand brutalities and things that happen inside the prison system. And so if you need any assistance, also you can contact our office, Melch, and we'll be more than happy to assist you with that process. And I want to just wish you good luck, and give us a call.
What is the number?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The number for Texas Civil Rights Project, again, on Thursdays between 1 and 4 in the afternoon, is 512-474-5073. And we do all our intakes that time, 1 to 4 on Thursdays, and it all is over the phone. We just don't have the office space to have people do intakes in person.
Yes, sir. 512-474-5073.
You got it.
Okay. And was there another number that the lady wanted to give, or
yes,
that number can take care?
And you can call 512-394-2055 and leave us a message, and I'll be more than happy to help address whatever concerns you have in addition to that.
Wow. I just want to...
No, go ahead, caller.
I just want to thank you guys, and of course this is overwhelming procedure, like you said, about being so many people in prison. I just saw a sign that said we need to build more schools and not prison, and it's a money thing that's going on here, and it's just I applaud you guys, and I'm glad that you're not letting it overwhelm you to get frustrated that there's so much to do. Y'all just hanging in there, and I wish y'all the best, and just keep hanging in there. And that self-help thing is very good, because see, people just need to know what to do.
Oh yes, and listen, caller, thank you so much, and please be in touch with us. You have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Scott, we know that there are so many people that are waylaid in the system, and even when they come out, there's just so many challenges that they face. What do you all see as one of the key problems persons released back into our community face? There's been so much discussion by different think tanks about, and you and I were talking about it earlier, that a lot of people believe that it's just workforce development, and we know that not to be true, because we know that incarceration over a period of time definitely has an effect in the way a person is able to operate on a day-to-day basis. And can you just speak briefly to what you all see as one of the key problems that they're faced with when they come back to their homes?
Really, the transition from being in a prison environment where everything about your day is controlled by somebody else to being released to where you're free, where you can make decisions for yourself, where you can make your own mistakes. That is just a huge transition because of the change in environment that you're in, but also because we're really releasing these people without very much support at all. One of the things I was surprised about while working with some of my clients who were being released, that was that they weren't being released to go home or go to a halfway house. They were being released to homeless shelters. Mm-hmm. We had a client who was a veteran who had served in Vietnam, who had won a Purple Heart, and when he was released from prison, the place where he went was to the Salvation Army, and that is just not a good system. Especially, this is kind of what led us to create our veterans program, because he didn't have to go there. He was eligible for housing assistance, for medical assistance, for hiring preferences through the Veterans Administration, but nobody did anything to connect him to those resources. And I think just the kind of vacuum that people fall into when they're released from prison is a big problem. That it's about more than finding people a job, because before you can have a job, you need to have a place to live, you need to have food to eat. I have clients who go to the food pantry to eat while they're looking to find a job, and these are also, some of them, people who are eligible for various government assistance and benefits, but no one ever told them that they were eligible for these or how to apply.
We have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You're on the ISI show.
Good morning. Thank you for everything. Taking my phone call. The question I have back this morning concerns like Travis County, and I got convicted of a case in the early 90s that I didn't even do. It was a sexual assault case that was like I didn't do. I got convicted, and I'm a sex offender, I'm a convicted sex offender, and it affects my life. But I found out that I had I met some more guys had similar cases around the same years. I know 3 guys got the same kind of case, similar cases. It's like a lot of those cases were coming out of the Travis County courthouse with the same kind of conviction type rate in the same DA system, and like a lot of those cases were in the early 90s. And I want to know, what can we do about those kind of things? Can you go back and look at it and see was there something done wrong? And during the same time, that Morton case was out in Round Rock, that Ken Anderson case, that time in the early 90s, the DAs had their way. They were doing a lot of stuff that wasn't quite right. Can you go back and correct anything? How do you do it? Just kind of move on and you touch that base on them, and I listen to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, caller, for calling in. And let me say before I deflect to Scott to answer that regarding statutes of limitations and that type of thing, please be encouraged. And I am so sorry that you've experienced what you've experienced. And hopefully you're able to work and have put your life together. I don't know how long you've been out of custody or whatnot, but I just want to tell you that whatever support that we can give, we're really interested in speaking with you further. And Scott, can you speak to the legal side of what he just asked?
Sure. Unfortunately, we know that there are a lot of people who are in the situation the caller described, people who are being sent to prison for something they just did not do. And the Michael Morton case out of Round Rock is a great example. Last year, my office helped Anthony Graves, who was convicted and sent to death row and spent, I can't even remember how many years on death row for a crime that he did not commit. He had nothing to do with it. And you think about it, if with 160,000 men in prison in Texas, people in prison, if just 1% of those people are innocent, that's 1,600 people every single day in Texas who are in for something they didn't commit. But to speak to specifically what the caller said, is that there are a lot of legal disabilities that are created by a felony conviction, whether you did it or not, and that's especially true for sex offenders, people convicted of a sex offense. And it's really difficult to get a conviction like that, especially almost 20 years ago, undone. But I would encourage and that's not typically a issue that Texas Civil Rights Project works on, because again, that affects just a handful of people, and we try to do work that helps a broader segment. But there are groups that do that type of work to help people who were wrongfully convicted overturn those convictions and remove some of those legal disabilities. If you call TCRP this afternoon, we can give you some of those resources, the contact information for them, but groups like the Innocence Project of Texas or the Texas, there's I forget the exact name of it, but there's a clinic at the University of Texas Law School that helps people who are wrongfully convicted. There's programs like that at all the other law schools in Texas as well. Those would be the best place for someone who was wrongfully convicted to go to.
We're still running out of time, and I know how we can easily discuss this issue just continually, because there's so many people that have questions, concerns. Scott, would you please, just in closing for yourself, give the information about the intake process? And we're going to take one more caller. Caller, you're on the line. Thank you so much for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I just have a quick question, and maybe he could, or you yourself could just brief me. What's going on with the Rodney Reed case out of Bastrop? And I know that he is an inmate that's been on death row for many, many, many years for a murder charge. And just hoping you guys could just give me a little bit of information on that, the Rodney Reed death row case. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to speak to that. Our office initiated in Bastrop. Melch's office is in Bastrop County, and we're moving into Travis County right now. I think that there have been several people that have worked on that case. I personally have not worked on the case. I know the family and their plight. We can't really give you any specifics on what is going on the case at this time, except that it had gone through an appeal process. So as far as I know, the only thing that I can offer on that is my knowledge of the family and their continual work towards getting their son free. But other than that, I can't speak specifically to that, and I don't know that the Texas Civil Rights Project has been involved any further with that. So I can't really speak to that.
I don't know anything particularly about Mr. Reed's case. I do know that he has very talented attorneys working on his appeal. Absolutely. And that there have been serious questions raised about his guilt in that case.
And to that note, I just want to say to those that are listening that have cleared paper, who are not on parole, who may have been to prison or whatnot, if you are not registered to vote, please, today, go and get a card at the library, post office, where they have voter registration cards. Please go out and get yourself registered to vote. It is so important. You can impact some of these issues if you would do something like exercise that right and that liberty to be able to vote. That's important. I'm so happy to have had Scott Medlock here with us this morning in the Texas Civil Rights Project. I would like for him to go back and give the information about his organization, their intake process, and their phone numbers. And any closing remarks, Scott?
Well, just to one other thing that people can do today is the Texas legislature is considering actually closing 2 prisons. If you can go to TCRP's Facebook page. There's a link there that will help you to contact the important legislators. They're probably going to vote on that today. So if you could look at this as soon as possible, it'll send them a little email saying that you want these prisons to be closed. We currently have 10,000 empty prison beds in Texas. These are prisons we don't need and that we should get rid of them. They're costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars that could be better used for education or health care or anything other than empty prison beds. But thank you so much for having me on the show today, Latresse. Again, our intake process where we consider new cases and try to help the people that we can and refer people who we can't help to other resources is every Thursday afternoon between 1 and 4 p.m. You give our office a call. The number is 512-474-5073. You'll talk to an intake specialist who's going to take your information and then present those cases to the attorneys to consider for that small number of cases that TCRP can actually do. But whether we can represent you or not, we'll send you some resources and referrals to try and point you in the best direction to help yourself or to find another resource that will help you.
And Scott, thanks again for participating in our Iron Sharpens Iron show. And I so appreciate the work that Jim Harrington and Trish Kelly, those persons do. You all have been just wonderful to Melge. If you all have any questions for us, you can reach us at 512-394-2055. And, of course, I'll be at the station for a couple of minutes if you'd like to continue to call, and we will be responsive to some of your requests. I need to give a quick shout-out to some wonderful people over at WB Chicken and Waffle Restaurant. Absolutely great people. Customer service provided to us by Miss Ashley was second to none, and so I want to just say hi to you all. And to Erica and Nick over at Express Pros, who actually work with persons who have previously been incarcerated and just do phenomenal work over there in getting people back on their feet and employed. I just want to thank each and every one of you all for all of your support of Melge and the work that we do. And we want to continue to impact this community and make a difference. There's enough work for everybody. We just need to work cohesively, and we need to work consistently together to make this population be a population that is successfully reintegrated back into our communities, because, as you know, your success is important to us. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us this morning. My name is Latresse Cooke, and we'll be back on the first Thursday at 9 o'clock a.m. on the Juice and Jam Show.
And opinions expressed throughout KAZI's broadcast day are not necessarily the views or opinions of KAZI's board, staff, sponsors, or volunteers.
You're listening to Iron Sharpens Iron with Latresse Cooke. If you'd like to donate to support this and other programming on Austin Community Radio, email Bob at kazifm.org. Thank you.